Are you tired of the same old build? Tired of using Nargacuga weapons for every single build? Tired of seeing me put them in every single build video? Well, you're in luck because today I'm showing off builds that actually are meant to be used with anything but Nargacuga weapons. So initially, I was making this build for my Gas Harag weapons, which I really love the appearance of because I honestly prefer the appearance of a weapon over its utility like half the time. But I realized, you know what? Let's give Tigrex weapons a shot since everyone's been convincing me or been trying to convince me to use them. And I'll be the first to admit that I was really reluctant to use any Tigrex weapons because they looked terrible. Everyone was trying to tell me to use the sword and shield. Use the sword and shield. This is the sword and shield. This is not a sword. This is a this is a chicken leg or something. I don't know what this is, but it's not a sword. And this barely counts as a shield. It looks like a dried up pizza. So I'm supposed to go out into battle with this monstrosity, and do some amazing DPS, but feel ashamed about like the fact that I'm using a piece of something that looks like a piece of poop, as a weapon. So you gotta forgive me for not using this weapon for a long time, and most of the other Tigrex weapons are pretty much the same. I don't like the appearance of most of them. I like the hammer a little bit, but most of them just look terrible. But after doing some testing, they are actually really good. They're actually really good, so I'm sorry for doubting any of you. I'll get over the way they look eventually, but first things first, let's get into the build. Now, I may be showing off a Tigrex weapon right here, but basically you can use any Tigrex or any non Nargacuga weapon you want, because this is basically a template to get as much affinity and as much attack as humanly possible without using a Nargacuga weapon. So with Tigrex weapons, you will have about 75 or you will have about a 75 or 70% affinity max. That is the absolute max, unless depending. I know for my greatsword build, I was able to slot in some max smite, but for everything else, you're gonna be struggling with this white sharpness. Like the white sharpness on this build, it barely lasts on the sword and shield. In fact, I wouldn't advise going this route. There's also another reason why I didn't use Tigrex weapons is you have pitiful white sharpness. So with the great sword, you can maintain it. With the hammer, maybe. With the sword and shield, if you don't have a talisman or some way of slotting into protective polish, you are not going to be able to take advantage of that white sharpness. Luckily, with this specific talisman, I'm able to slot in. I'm able to have a protective polish, which is able to keep the white sharpness uptime. But otherwise, I would not recommend this build. You just if you can't keep up the white sharpness for this build consistently, then you might as well use Gasarok, which is the same attack, but it's blue sharpness. Which is it's actually about the exact amount of blue sharpness this weapon has. So your white sharpness weapon will essentially turn into a Gasarok weapon if you can't maintain that sharpness. So it's really important to have two protective polish because you can't fit Master's Touch. Like the only way you're getting Master's Touch in this build is if you have some sort of godliest of god roll talisman, and I do not have that. But I'm lucky enough to have this. I don't know how many of you guys have a talisman that's similar to this, but you're kind of limited on room. And this is the most amount of affinity I could get, and attack. You always want to hit that sweet spot of 4. If you sacrifice one more attack, you lose that 5% bonus. So you always want to aim for 4. I'm using this chest as opposed to the chest piece or the Nargacuga one, because they essentially have the same value, but this allows me to customize it more. So I put in 2 weakness exploit into this chest as 2 slots here. And it's just a matter of just putting as much crit eye and attack as possible, which is why I went with the Inga Graves. I don't normally put these boots in my build, but since we don't have Nargacuga's insane affinity, we're going to need as much affinity and attack as we can get. So this is technically more value than the Hunter Greaves, which just has 2 attack and a 2 slot. So you are really strapped for skills here. You can pretty much change this weapon with whatever you want, and the build will remain the same. I have a build with the hammer that I was using, but unfortunately, there's no slugger. Can't put any slugger because you need to have protected polish. And you need to, it's also have slotted in weakness exploit here, so unless you're willing to sacrifice crit boost, which I wouldn't advise, or weakness exploit, which would lose you even more affinity, I would not recommend anything else other than this talisman unless you have something better. But if you're using like a Goss Sarag weapon, which I have my greatsword build you literally just swap out the weapon. That's the beauty of this build, is you just swap out the weapon, and you can put literally any non Nargacuga weapon, and you're good, and you're perfectly fine. I actually have max might on this for a little more affinity. I put it on here. Get more affinity. Literally any non-Nargacuga weapon, to slap it on, and you're good. So for Magnum All weapons, you'll have 90% affinity since you don't have any negatives. So it'd be 40 plus 50 and 90. And if you have max might in the 2 slot here, you'd have 100. So this is how you go about making just a non-Nargacuga build, exchanging one meta for another. So if you can stand, if you can stand the appearance of these Tigrex weapons, I can barely stand them. You do really good DPS, I found. I did a test run on Magnamalo, and it was one of my faster runs, and it wouldn't even do that great. But yeah, the Tigrex Sword and Shield, Tigrex Hammer, as long as you can maintain that white sharpness, you can pretty much get by on that 70-75% crit. I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you want to see me do any more build videos, up next I'm going to be doing some stuff on Switch Axe, Charge Blade, many more. Leave suggestions in the comments. Make fun of my build and how much I suck at this game as well. If you want to see more stuff. And please visit my Twitch and say hi. I'd love to know if you were finding these videos from YouTube, stopping by my Twitch. Make fun of my appearance, especially my face and hair. Do that. But until next time, I hope to see you in the next build video. Bye-bye.